all the older musicians I would have met over the years, and I was very lucky. I was a very young musician. Back in the 60s and 70s, this music was not very popular, and people weren't recording it like they are now. And I was a younger guy, and I was brought around to many of the older musicians who hadn't professionally recorded, and we just had cassettes of these people who just played good music just for their own enjoyment. And I mentioned three of them now. The first guy was John Lochran, the fiddle player from County Tyrone, blind man, and he was virtually blind. He was a shepherd, but he called the sheep off the Spurn Mountains. And the second fiddle player was a man, Peter McCarter, from my hometown. He was a single man. Peter was never married, and he used to come in. He was sent a car out from the dock out to his house in Tallinstown to bring him in to play on a Saturday night. And one Saturday night, it was very bad weather, and Maeve and Mark, they hadn't kids in the house. They lived over the pub, and they said, "We can't be sending Peter home to an empty house, on a Saturday night, a winter's night." So let him stay upstairs over the pub tonight. Peter's a very gentle soul, I believe. So he lived there for the next 5 years. And it was nice because I had music in the pub, and then this was all that. So I never met him because I walked into the pub the day he was being buried. I had nothing to do with it, honestly. I had a very good alibi that day. But I became the resident musician. But he played this tune, and the third tune was played by a flute player from County Fermanagh, who wrote a tune, a very famous tune, played by the Botti band, the Banshee. I'm not going to play that. But he didn't write this tune, but he played a little tune called Bees in the Honey Tree. So little single jigs. The middle tune's called Mixing the Porridge, and I always remember, as I say, I met the older musicians, and I played with Roger Sherlock, a great flute player from well, he was always known as a Sligo flute player, but he's actually from one field into the next county, which was Mayo. But he told me he used to cross that field and listen, sitting outside a window of this old flute player, his cottage, and to sit there on a summer's evening and listen to this old flute player playing away. And he learned a lot of music listening to this older man. But he was, like most people in Sligo, that generation of the early 50s, they all emigrated to London to building sites, the rebuilding of England. And just before he left, the old flute player passed away, and he didn't know whether to approach the widow or to, he was very, because he needed a flute. But so he decided he'd go to London, and whenever he get back, he'd approach her and maybe offer to buy the flute. So 2 years later, he arrived back into the house at Sligo, and he said to the widow, he says, "Your husband was an amazing flute player. We used to sit outside his window here at night and listen to him play the flute, and great drive in his music, great range of tunes, and just an amazing musician to listen to." She didn't have the same opinion of her own husband. That fella never worked a day in his life. And poor old Roger was a wee bit caught. He didn't know what to say. He said, he says, the flute he played, if the kids aren't interested or anybody, he says, "I'd offer to buy it whenever you ask." He says, "The flute," she says. "You can have the flute," she says. "I've been stirring porridge with it for the last 2 years." And he said, I knew Roger, but he collected flutes. He was a good man, and he says, "I'm one of the best flutes I ever had," So there you go.
Did it sound better or worse after that?
Well, he said it was one of the best flutes he ever had. He had to get the porridge, all the oatmeal off the flute. That one. There you go. There's hope for us yet.